Hi everybody, Todd Dammit Kerns here once again. Today, a very good friend of mine, we toured together 14 years ago. Man, that's hard to believe. One of my favorite humans, an immensely talented guy from one of my all-time favorite bands, ladies and gentlemen, from Enuff Z'Nuff, Chip Z'Nuff.
It's official. We're on. Oh my God. And you look color coordinated. You look prepped and ready to to be on cam.
I feel pretty good. I'll tell you, this is the way I wake up in the morning. Okay, I go to sleep with the hat and shades on.
Yeah, exactly.
I did that in the early days of Enuff Z'Nuff. I'd have the cop hat on, my leather jacket that I wore in the New Thing video. Management would go, "We're doing it," and I'd get right out of my bunk on the bus and I'd get right on stage and play.
Yeah, it's not a costume or anything. You're just kind of like ready to go at all times, stage
No,
ready.
It's Batman and Robin. It's the Green Hornet.
Yeah, except that you're not. There's no Bruce Wayne. There's no Clark Kent. You're just always kind of Batman, really.
No, right on. That's it. No, who cares who drives it? I'm ready to go every day, buddy.
I appreciate that. So what was going on? You were up this morning doing. You've got a radio show, a regular radio show.
I certainly do, and it's blown up like I never anticipated. I'm on Dash Radio,
That's great.
which is really the new Sirius Radio. It's free, unlike satellite and unlike Sirius.
Yeah.
Satellite radio, Dash Radio. I'm on Monsters of Rock 6 days a week. We play nothing but the finest hard rock and heavy metal 24/7, 365 days a year, commercial free, and it's the whole alphabet A through Z.
Crazy.
Probably have a catalog of 37,000 songs plus to pick from.
Wow.
And it's everybody from Guns N' Roses and Van Halen to Cheap Trick, Mott the Hoople, to the newer bands like Greta Van Fleet, Vintage Trouble, Rival Sons. The list goes on and on. And people have spoken, man. They want to hear great music without all the commercials. They want to hear different songs too. They don't want to hear the same stuff every single day. So I think we provide that service. I have a wonderful cast of characters on the show. Rudy Sarzo's got his own show on there as
That's
well.
right. Yeah.
Does really well. I just seen our comb the last week or so, and over 800,000 people a day listening to the show. We got 30 million subscribers, and it's just a great platform for people to hear their finest bands and to celebrate life.
That's great, man. It's really awesome to see rock and roll alive and well. Like you mentioned, Rival Sons, there's Joyous Wolf, there's Dirty Honey. There's a lot of new bands that are like rock bands. You know, I mean, like there's no like kind of flavor of like whatever. It's like, no, they're straight up rock bands. It's great to see.
Yeah, those cats are carrying the torch. No tapes, no sequencers, no guys backstage. They get up there, they plug into their amplifiers, they sing and play. And I think they're terrific new talent that's out there that needs to be embraced.
What time are you getting up to do radio, though?
Yeah, because I don't go to bed. I'm up here in the studio until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. You know, I've probably recorded 3 full-length records in the last 2 months, which if anybody knows about recording, it's quite a challenge right there. I'm
Absolutely.
up and ready to do every day about 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm on from 10 to 2 on the Monsters of Rock on the Dash Radio Network during the week. And then on Saturdays, I'm on from noon to 4.
Man, oh man. So it's almost a 7-day-a-week gig. That's crazy.
It's great. Listen, I just got up that Faster Pussycat tour, and I brought the show with me every single night. When big bands come through town, like in 2019, when the Stones were in town, I had my own laminate with my face on the front of it. How many cats can say they've done that? And I followed the Stones around on every single tour.
Wow, that's so awesome.
And it's really good, Todd, for the bands. If I'm on tour with somebody, it's another huge place for people to know where the tours are happening, where the shows are at, who are the bands that are being involved. It's just a win-win situation. I love cultivating a show where I can massage it to where it's in my favor every single day.
Totally.
So I'm on tour with Slash and the Conspirators every single night in every single city. People know days before it where we're playing, what time we're playing, what's going on, and then they show up there at the gigs.
that's one of the things that I love about you is the fact that, you know, it feels like you've always been there. It feels like you'll be there. Like when I'm like an old man, I'll be like, how is Chip Z'Nuff still doing stuff?
It's a miracle at the end of the day, Todd. And you and I, listen, we've toured together. I remember when you were
Yeah.
fronting Faster Pussycat. We were touring all through Spain and Italy and those places.
So
And
crazy.
you see how it is. It's wash, rinse, repeat. Every day we're out there playing the shows. We've seen some crazy stuff out there together. And it's a wonderful experience to be able to tour with your friends out there and go around the country. Those are memories you can never take away from anybody. I know it's special for me, that's for sure.
Absolutely. I think that's like I say, it's one of the things that I find really inspiring about looking at your career is the fact that, you know, with all the changes that have occurred in the music, first of all, music in general, and then the way it's sort of packaged and sold is in a constant state of change, and not necessarily for the better in a lot of ways, but we've all sort of adapted, and watching you has been like, man, you know, it's really inspiring to see guys like yourself who are still like, who were around when it was like, here's your record contract that is a, you know, ridiculous size check or, you know, whatever, to now where it's a lot more of a DIY punk rock kind of world, but still finding a way to really kind of make it, you know, make it your day to day, make it your life. But on top of that, still have that passion and that fire to do it, you know, and really enjoy it.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's all about soothing your own soul.
Absolutely.
You know, when I used to hang out with Trick all the time, and Rick Nielsen told me, he goes, they were playing small pubs, you know, Luigi's in Chicago Heights, and they go over and they play a bowling alley. They weren't making any money doing anything, and then all of a sudden they got a break when Jack Douglas found the band and discovered them and got him a deal, and they started, you know, at least getting in the game where they can play bigger shows and open for some national acts. And they eventually moved themselves up to where they had a hit song and they toured around the country. And same trajectory with Enuff Z'Nuff. We had nothing at all. Then all of a sudden Doc McGee discovered us, got a deal, finally got a little bit of chippy poos to just, you know, put in the gas tank and go to do some shows. It was still touring in a van and working our way through. And then we had New Thing and Flying Michelle, and that was it. And I've been chasing the carrot ever since. And it's up and down. It's peaks and valleys in the music business for all the bands out there. And there was no internet, there was no social media. It was about getting up in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, doing your local shows wherever you're playing, and hopefully you find a place there where people want to talk to you, and then pushing that gig, and then it's wash, rinse, repeat every single day. That's how it is for us. I've never really stopped it. I've still been chasing the carrot, but more importantly, at the end of the day, it's about your catalog of material and what you leave behind. And I believe in our legacy.
Yeah.
And I think anything else would be a shortcut to thinking. I like playing songs. I like the fans out there, and it's a challenge every single day, and it keeps you alive. So as long as I can do it, I'm pretty grateful for that. Hey, I still see the guys in Cheap Trick doing it too. And I gotta tell you, you know, those guys are getting up there in age too right now, but they sound better than ever.
100%.
I think, you know, with the internet, the way we have things set up, Todd, if you can put a record out there and put it out through social media and Deezer and iTunes and Rhapsody and you know, Apple and all that stuff, and then you find a tour that you can go out and support the record. That's the best. That's your best bet right there. I still believe the old-fashioned way of, if you want to reach the people, you got to take the music to the streets.
Ain't that the truth? It's like the old medicine show. You got to go from town to town and kind of.
That's it. At the end of the day, it really is. And listen, the fans want to see that too. A lot of these people out there that come out to the shows who've become our friends, they bring their family now, and they're bringing their sons and daughters to the shows, and they're passing them through generations. That's pretty special right there.
It really is.
And it's up to us to provide them with the medicine they need, because we're the doctors there. And I think that every night, if you can still play and you can still sing well, and it goes a long way in this business right now. And at the end, that's all really that matters. It's a challenge for any kind of thing in life out there, for anybody, any walk of life, with doctors, military, police, you know, people that work at the local stores, you know, help them with little medicines, for kitty cats and doggies and our favorite animals. Everybody's got their own little niche in life, and it's very important to really work hard and do the best job that you can. And I think music, it's just a special gig that not all of us get that. And if you're built to do it, I say go do it.
Absolutely. What do you attribute to your longevity as far as, you know, I mean, living in a business or working in a business that, I mean, it not only, not only does it accept, you know, bad behavior, it actually encourages bad behavior. And you've been around it off and on your whole life, and you've watched guys fall by the wayside and then still getting up on stage and doing it night after night. I'm kind of like, again, it's really inspiring when, you know, the sort of like, I don't know, Diet Coke and a bottle of water at the party generation, or whatever we call rock and roll now. When I go to parties and I just see a bunch of us old, you know, teetotalers kind of like keeping it together. You lived like through the real, like actual, maybe people weren't that aware of how hard it would be, how damaging it could be. And you're still here. You're still doing it. I mean, like, that's what I really dig.
Well, I see everything in front of me through rose-colored glasses. So
Or purple ones.
today they're purple. I attribute everything to, you know, I know it might sound silly, but you know, the good Lord above.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
there's somebody watching over all of us right there, and you know, blanketing us
Sure.
with health and with safety.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle that a lot of us are out there still making records, because obviously with promiscuity and substance abuse, which are one of the prerequisites to be in a rock band,
Yeah.
to be able to navigate those waters and get through it and still be alive. That's a good thing. But at the end of the day, it's a work ethic. You know, I'm really blessed to have energy and good. I come from good stock.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to believe that without son unmasked, really good mother and father. And perhaps that's one of the things. And I just, every day I get up and I go out and I work and I want to make things happen. And I want to not just make myself happy, but I want to make the fans happy as well. So try to put the good records out there, stay in good shape. I know Steven Tyler used to always say, we have an obligation to the fans out there to keep ourselves in good shape and stay healthy, because that's what they want to see.
Yeah.
And that's a tough task at hand right now. Hey, and right now these are tough. These are really difficult times here in our country. I just was out on tour of Faster Pussycat and straight out of quarantine tour. I see Tammy down straight, no drinking, no drugs, keeping it together every single day. I think my grandpa was right a long time ago, even though I didn't want to agree with him. A little discipline never hurt anybody. So that's what I do. Get out there every single day and play. Listen, the old days it was a van or the Oscar Mayer Wiener wagon. Now we get a tour bus. We get a chance to go out there. Everybody travels together. I'm pretty lucky, to be honest with you, and to be able to have a record label that puts your records out. In Enuff Z'Nuff's case, we're with Cleopatra Records on our catalog stuff. And with our last 4 albums, with me fronting the band, we're on Frontiers Records, which is a nice label as well. So we've got a couple of different homes, and we get a chance to navigate and go move around the country and put records out and play. And it's a win-win for me.
Absolutely. You know, I was going to get into that later, but I think I have to address that now. The fact that you're finally fronting the band is one of those things that when it happened, it was like, how had this not happened like 10 years before? How had we not thought of this? Because in so many ways, you became the face of the band, you know, more so than almost anybody else. I think out of a lineup, they would have said, that's Chip Z'Nuff. You know what I mean? And the fact that we all know, I always knew, because you would sing a couple songs during the night, and I always be like, damn, why doesn't Chip just sing the whole show? So when you finally stepped up and did it, it was like, this makes all the sense in the world. You are the face and the front man of this band, whether you wanted to be or not. You just kind of were. And now it's just sort of like, it's like, to me, it's better than ever.
I appreciate that. The fans have spoken. When I first was going to do this, when Donnie left the band again in 2013, listen, I didn't want the gig. I got to be honest with you. I was working with one of the greatest singers of our generation.
I know.
He's fabulous. Your guy, Miles Kennedy, hails him beyond belief.
We all love Donnie. I mean,
our version of Believe It or Not, I'm walking on air from Greatest American Heroes. Last time I seen you guys, he was telling me that might be the finest version he's ever heard in his life.
I agree.
That was a rock solid band. And shout out to Tony Fennell from Ultravox, who helped produce that song.
Totally.
But I think in the beginning, you never envision an ending for any band when you put it together.
No.
So when I had the opportunity to move forward, it was basically Donnie that said, look, if you're going to continue with Enuff Z'Nuff, you know, you should sing the songs. At least people know it's you when you step up on stage, and they'll know it's Enuff Z'Nuff. But it still was a challenge. I had 20 lyrics on stage. I had no teleprompter, had to remember all the words. It was quite a challenge.
You got to get an iPad or something so you can kind of
Yeah, but it
Swipe
just
around.
didn't look. Yeah, it didn't
No,
look cool.
it
Like
doesn't
that.
look cool. No.
That's not rock and roll. You wouldn't
No,
see your
yeah.
favorite guy, Freddie Mercury or Steven Tyler, wouldn't be doing that.
Standing
Those are
there
the
with his
guys
iPhone. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You know, when I seen the Nielsen Trust recently, I was wondering how the guys were how they were navigating singing those songs. And Nielsen's fantastic with that. And I looked, I seen a teleprompter on stage. I go, wow, that's how you do it.
That's how you
know,
do
it
it.
looks like a monitor, but the teleprompter, what a great thing they have nowadays. But I believe that you know, you mind memory. You know,
Yeah.
you do it a little bit, and you start getting it, and you're in pretty good shape right there. So when I started putting the records out with me fronting the band, I looked at Genesis as my barometer and how I would do this, because when Peter Gabriel left, Phil Collins came in and took over. And I'm not comparing myself, folks, to Phil Collins, fabulous singer,
Yeah.
okay, with smash hit songs. But
Yeah.
that's the best analogy I can come up with. And then I went out and played the shows, and the fans spoke. They were all
Yeah.
said, the band sounds great. You sound fantastic singing these songs. And listen, I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for them. If everybody would have bombarded me and said, nah, it's just not happening,
Right.
perhaps I would have taken a different avenue and went back and joined Missing Persons again, or got back with your gig, Adler's Appetite. And
There you
started
go.
playing the
Yeah,
gigs.
yeah.
Or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
just do so. There's a lot of options out there for a guy who knows how to play and sing. But nope, I was able to get through the shows. People loved the songs, and there's real celebration of life. Those songs made a lot of people happy. In the early days when on those Enuff Z'Nuff albums, you know, you have to remember, these fans come out to see the shows the first time they fell in love, the first time they got high, the first time they had sex. You know, those are
Of
great
course.
memories to carry with you forever. So I'm pretty happy that here we are putting our fourth album with me in the front, in the
Yeah.
front seat of the car. And I'm certainly hoping that I have more years to follow. But I think the records we put out, first time we've had records that have charted in the Billboard top 200 in 25, 30 years. I think hard work is the luck of design. It's the preparation meets opportunity trip. And you just do the hard work, and, you know, the rest will follow, I think.
Now, you think that's actually like that sort of, you know, Chicago hardworking family thing that sort of rubbed off on you somewhere early on, but somehow, you know, reapplied to music somehow? Or
Yeah, perhaps it was. You know, my father worked for U.S. Steel for years. He was a construction engineer. He'd be climbing 300, 400, 500 feet up in the air, not tied off at all.
wow.
And putting all these gigs together, helped him build Chicago. Wonderful man. And perhaps the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I worked at U.S. Steel for a while too. I told all my guys over there, I said, this ain't going to be a gig that I'm going to be here a long time, guys. I'd be in the canteen at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, having steak and eggs, smoking cigarettes, hanging out with all my brothers, all my black brothers out there. They were like, they all looked out for me too. They all great people out at U.S. Steel. And it was a short run for me. I probably worked there for 3 or 4 years with my dad, but made a lot of inroads and met a lot of wonderful friends. And I knew right then I was going to be playing music. Didn't know when I was going to get a break until I ran to Doc McGee on Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And Doc said, I got 3 cassette tapes in my car. 2 of them are your band. I said, oh man, thanks. And he says, I'm going to give it to a friend of mine who signed Cinderella and Bon Jovi. He's got his own imprint over at Atco Records, which is a subsidiary of Atlantic. And I think he'll be pleasantly surprised if he hears this material. And lo and behold, a week later, the guy flew to Chicago, seen the band at a rehearsal. It was a debacle of a rehearsal.
Really?
The next day sent us a facsimile, and we were all of a sudden in the game. After 10 years of struggling, opening for BTO and Cheap Trick and any band that would come through Chicago for no money at all, finally got a break. And that's where it comes from. Like my father and grandfather did it. Hard work at the end pays off usually.
The 10-year overnight success.
As a result of all them hard jobs that we did together, well, finally got a little bit of recognition. Listen, the job just started then, Todd. Okay, once we got the record deal, we still had to make the record, and then we still had to go out and go on tour. And my book is going to detail how that whole scenario was put together and how we almost didn't finish the record. We almost didn't get the tour. Some of the things that went on in the band because of our X-rated personalities, and pushed stuff to the side and took it for granted. We just didn't know, and how we actually got a break at the end because of not only the songs, but because we got out in the bus, we went and toured around the country and got a couple of breaks, and some people believed in what we were doing. That's it, really it. There's so many bands that slipped through the cracks, Todd, that we just don't hear about that should have been huge.
I know.
You know, just off the top of my head, Dan Reed Network or or Jellyfish. To me, those bands were should have been household names. They just, and there's thousands more like that too. They just didn't get the break. So I'm grateful I get a chance to go out there and play records and tour around the country still to this day, because I'm really a modern day miracle. I'm one of the last of the Mohicans. It's not, you're not going to see guys like me in the next 10, 15 years. It's not going to be around. It's a sad thing to say, but at least what did Little Steven say to me? He goes, Chip, if you just leave if you're just a footnote, that's good. You've been successful. And maybe that's the case.
100%. I think when you bring up bands like Jellyfish or Dan Reed Network and yourself, I mean, there's a Johnny Appleseed thing that happens where you went and played somewhere and some kid saw that and went, I'm going to do that, you know, and that creates this whole thing. So although bands like Jellyfish and the Dan Reed Network, although big deal to me, may not be household names, they do have their own impact, and they sort of, you know, perpetuate a whole new generation of music in their own way, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And Enuff Z'Nuff's no, you know, the same thing by far.
No, I think that we got a little luckier in those bands because we moved a little bit more units. We had, we facilitated some good people to get on board with us to help us navigate what we were going through at that time, because none of us, we had no clue.
Right.
Certainly doesn't hurt to have people like David Letterman in your back pocket, or Howard Stern. That was good for us. And MTV,
Absolutely.
you know, if it wasn't for guys like Rick Krim and Abby Conowitz and Les Garland, those guys took a chance on us and played those videos, and people reacted to them. Maybe if we came out earlier, like in '86 or '87, I know guys in Guns N' Roses told me this, that perhaps we might have been a little bit bigger, because when we first hit the scene, it was glam and you could say maybe glitter rock is another word you could use.
That's what I like to call it.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't hair metal. Okay, nobody mentioned that word. That's one snaggletooth little jag up in the office that failed miserably at trying to do what we do. So they come up with a name. Hey, they're going to call this hair metal because they got long hair.
Yeah,
it was never. There was, that term was never used before at all. It was glitter rock or glam rock, and we got caught up in that whole thing because that's what MTV was playing. It was Motley Crue, Poison, Guns N' Roses. All those bands were that. Every one of them. I don't care how many records they sold. Every single one of them were the same thing. We were White Snake.
Yeah.
We were all swimming in the same ocean.
Absolutely.
And some of the bands, even Pantera, because we were label mates with us, they were colorful and flamboyant, wear the tight pants, push their rigs over to one side. And then some of them were smart enough later on, Todd, to change their whole disposition.
Of course.
And start wearing jeans or boots and shorts, whatever it was. And we just never switched. We always said, we're going to be true to ourselves. We're going to keep going and moving in the same way we did when we first started the band, because we thought the image was great, not knowing that it was going to be a whole change of the guard. And you're going to have this 91 with Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Mudhoney, all that stuff, Nirvana, that most of the bands that I'm talking to, that I mentioned to you right now, we all had to take a back seat and sit back for a little while and relax, because it was a change of the guard. Yeah. And here we are now, all these years later, still going strong. Every place I played, great crowds. Fans are showing up. They want to celebrate life, and they want to remember when they first got into the music business, the things that tripped their trigger. And just to be a part of it, a small part of it, is really a blessing.
100%. I mean, the other side of it too is, what's interesting to me is, it's the same as when we talk about like grunge. It's like, to me, it's sort of like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Nirvana. Those bands all sounded totally different. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's hard to just say that was a thing. Yeah. In the same way, when I look back, because you guys were markedly different, because you guys were essentially what me and my friends sort of referred to more as power pop. Yeah. And, you know, in terms of just great songwriting, just really clever recordings. I mean, of course, you ended up in the magazines with a lot of the other dudes with long hair and glamorous outfits. But Enuff Z'Nuff just had a whole different thing than I think you guys really separated yourselves just by sheer songwriting prowess, I thought. And I think that it might have been totally different if you guys looked like, I don't know, like, I don't know how else you would have looked, because I can't imagine the fact that you sort of, having the foresight to have sort of created your own image and still be carrying it all these years later, I think is a gift that not a lot of people kind of have.
If we came out with jeans and t-shirts, people said, perhaps we'd be like you too. I say, what we came out like that, you wouldn't be talking to me right now.
Maybe.
Band to come in there and get played. And those songs were smash hits on MTV in the top 10 for the whole year, traveling all around the country. That's very special. Not many cats can say that. So
No.
maybe the image in some ways was the forerunner to the music. Obviously, Donnie and myself coming up with these songs, that was pretty special. We'd show up at the studio. You know, we had great technique when it came time to recording. We surrounded ourselves with wonderful engineers and producers. And we knew about, okay, maybe, you know, we plugged this guitar amp into here, and it was all 2-inch tape back in the old days. So throw a 57 on this guitar, and then, you know, maybe a couple ribbon mics in the room, and then bass. I'd run through a pole tech instead of an amplifier, and you got to watch your technique on that and play. I play real aggressive. So, and it was just plug in and play drums too. Everything was set up just properly. We all played at the exact same time. It was a real band, real record, not like Pro Tools now where you come in with a loop drum beat or whatever you would have, and then everybody plays around at one instrument at a time. It was a real rock band at the end of the day. And listen, I'm not the first that did that. You know, the Zeppelins and the Queens and the Mott the Hooples and the Sweets, all those guys did the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
We're just following suit. So to have that opportunity, and Donnie, a writing machine, great singer, songwriter, fantastic. We had a really good chemistry together, and we believed in each other, and there was nothing that was going to stop us. And that was the power of what the trajectory that was going to move us forward in the business. And I think that at the end of the day, it's really important for all artists out there, you know, to get out and listen to the music that you love, that performing, and then pick the style of music that you really that really moves you, and then that's what you go with. I mean, listen to everything, and that's what Enuff Z'Nuff did. It was R&B and rock and alternative and heavy metal, and that was the problem with us when we first came out. Is we had so many different styles of music that we knew about, and that we, as a result of that, we mixed together and made a nice little potpourri of what kind of sound Enuff Z'Nuff was going to go, what direction we were going to go into, that when journalists heard our music, they weren't sure what to call us, if it was alternative or new wave or rock or pop or perhaps heavy metal. I say that we were alternative before alternative. I got to be honest with you.
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, because the bands that we were looking at that time, the influences, well, obviously we had Guns N' Roses and Whitesnake and Poison and the Motley Crues that were getting play on MTV and were filling sheds and arenas. We were listening to Squeeze and Mott the Hoople and Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
And we of course we knew about the Aerosmiths of the world and stuff too, but it was really a pop side of Enuff Z'Nuff that we embraced in those early days. And then we just turned it, when Derek Frigo joined the band, we just turned it up to 10. And that gave us a whole different dichotomy, I think.
I think also being from Chicago separates you from a lot of that too, because you're not the kind of band who just ran off to the Sunset Strip to try and get signed. You sort of, the seeds were sown there, you grew there, and you remain there, right? You're still in Chicago, or
still in Chicago, yeah. And although I did spend a lot of time on those, on the first record we did in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin,
right?
And we were out there with Jane's Addiction, along with. Who was it? Adrian Blue and the Bears, which Adrian Blue used to play with King Crimson. He was making this record there too. Cheap Trick was out there doing Standing on the Edge, Survivor. It was a wonderful catalyst of musicians making records at that old Royal Recorders in Lake Geneva. And then right after that first record took off, then we started moving around, and we went over to A&M and One on One and Music Grinder in Los Angeles and started focusing our attention in the Los Angeles area. And that was the label's thought. We could have stayed in Chicago and continued recording over at Chicago Recording Company, which we were doing a lot of stuff with back then.
Right.
But labels wanted to keep us away from all the bad things that were around Chicago that were feeding us. I.e. the fans, that were close to the group, and our friends that were providing us with the extracurricular activities that can perhaps slow down the growth of what we were trying to do. And maybe it was a good idea for them. We still found what we were looking for in Los Angeles as well.
Of course,
but
it's easy to find in LA.
yeah, but it was good because we had rock star friends that would come visit us at the studio, and it gave us a lot of confidence moving forward. And I like recording in Los Angeles. I think it was great. Cost us a Brinks truck full of money. When you're in A&M and it's $2,500 a day, and you're recording at a place in Los Angeles where your friends aren't allowed to come in there, you really stay focused and you can really get a lot of stuff done. And I think that helped the band a lot of ways because there was no room for error. It was just like, get these songs done. You got this much time. And if you don't get it done in this, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, which it already did in the first place. I'm telling you right now, my gift every single day, getting up early in the morning and doing those recordings was a little bit of a hippie tuna sandwich and a little bit of chicken noodle soup. And that was it. We weren't eating anything. We were chiseled. We had the look of the world. And, if a little bit of pot snuck in the studio, that was okay.
Sure, yeah.
We were trying to hide from. We just really wanted to make great records. And that's one thing that we never swayed away from. It was always, let's put out great songs because you don't get a second chance on a first impression.
Ain't that the truth? So what's the relationship like with Donnie now? Is that a prickly subject? Or, I mean, you guys seem like brothers that just, I mean, I know he's sort of like, hasn't been a part of anything since about, 2013, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing a solo record and it's coming out real soon. I'm actually,
that's exciting.
Playing bass on the first single with Roger Manning from Jellyfish.
Wow.
I think that he's still got terrific pipes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anything else that goes on, I really don't know about. I helped him with navigating this new deal that we have with Cleopatra with the whole catalog. I thought it was in our best interest to have all the records underneath one umbrella.
That's great.
I'm already on Frontiers as the band as we are right now, so I didn't want to do anything that's misconstrued a relationship and direction that we are taking now. But I pulled him in. He got some money during this whole pandemic. He's able to get some chips and be taken care of, compensated through Brian Pereira and Cleopatra, who did a fabulous job on the box set. And the whole catalog coming out under Cleopatra will be nice because it's all albums and not just CDs. So it comes out in different formats. And I think that's pretty exciting right there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been good. Anything I do through Enuff Z'Nuff that's lucrative, he gets paid for it. He gets taken care of. And I don't think I've hurt the name or hurt him whatsoever. I think he's pretty happy with me. Only time will tell what's going to go on there, but nothing but respect over there. And I think I've done some wonderful things to help him, not only with the solo record, but with the future of Enuff Z'Nuff in the catalog.
That's great. It's great to hear. I mean, it's such a crazy business where things get really out of control. And I'm glad you guys can at least keep that sort of, that looking out for one another kind of thing. And like you say, you guys are part of a larger legacy that, that you share in and till the end of time, really. Yeah.
And I'd like to see him be rewarded for his hard work. And I don't care what has happened in the past. His pipes are beautiful. Those songs are strong. If somebody came to us and said, hey, the new wave of the future, Todd, is everybody's buying catalog stuff,
Yeah.
Whether it's Primary or Worldwide, Metallica Company, or Hypnosis, they go buy songs and they're buying everybody's catalogs right now. Maybe one day somebody will recognize that with these 300 plus songs that are on Spotify right now of Enuff Z'Nuff, that if a manager will go, you know what, there's so many great songs right here. You can house 10 fucking bands for their whole career with those songs and just go out, bands record the material, put them out there. There's some hit songs in there for the next generation of rock and rollers and pop enthusiasts. So perhaps one day that can happen and we can move into the sunset and retire a little more comfortably. Because when I hear guys like Bob Dylan selling their catalog, and I'm not comparing us to Bob Dylan, folks, so relax. But we're talking $330 million first. I know that Enuff Z'Nuff catalog is worth tons, and perhaps it could be very lucrative to a new band out there and a new manager that's trying to find his way through here. Because at the end of the day, all the record companies and all the people are looking for one thing: fucking hit songs. That's it.
Absolutely.
So when you turn the radio on, you don't see guys shaking their ass and chicks dancing around in smoke machines. You hear the songs, and that's one thing that we've provided through our careers. We've got some solid material, good songs, and I'm hoping that somebody one day, maybe perhaps, will hear this and use them for movie soundtracks, TV shows, commercials. There's plenty of stuff out there for you folks.
That's inevitable, I think, for you guys, because the best thing about music is it really makes you immortal. I mean, like long after we're gone, these songs will live on. And no matter, someone's going to find that song 20 years from, whether it's Fly High Michelle or A New Thing or whatever, they're going to find these songs 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now. These songs will exist forever, long
there's
after
so
we're
many.
gone. Yeah.
Todd, I know on Son and Modest, I mentioned that before. I'm sorry to repeat myself, but I really believe that there's way more hit songs that Enuff Z'Nuff has in their back pocket, and just a matter of the right cats finding them. I know Clive Davis, when I was with Arista, he heard a bunch of them. He had one of his bands called the Tuesdays, record 6 of the songs, and he had Ole Evenrude, great producer over there in Europe, record the songs, and the band, right before they went on tour, they imploded. And it goes to show you, don't count your chips before they're hatched.
Ain't that true?
Wonderful opportunity right there. Would have been great. And those songs are smash hit songs. Clive picked it. The guy's got golden ears. So
he does.
I think there's way more than that out there. It's just a matter of getting the break and somebody find them and go, hey, you know what? There's something that's useful to us. We can make this happen. I
think that's inevitable. So what is, tell me about this book. I'm really excited to hear about a book forming.
I've been working on the book for the last 5 years.
Okay.
And it's a Brinks truck full of material right there. It's A through Z, the whole alphabet of what we went through from the earliest days of Enuff Z'Nuff before we got a record deal, where we were just opening shows, playing with anybody we could, all the way through to touring around with some of the biggest bands in the world, like Def Leppard and Badlands at the time, and Cheap Trick.
Sure.
And just from the big shows, and then the implosions of the record companies when there was a change of the guard in the music business. And then we found ourselves, after selling over 1 million albums, owing the record company $750,000 because of what they call as their loans, unrecoupable loans.
Right.
that we need to pay back.
It's basically like an organized crime deal when you really.
it certainly is. And then working our way through, and when we thought everything was all said and done, and Donnie quit the band, there was nothing going on, to getting a telephone call from Troy Blakely over APA saying, I got this major tour with doing Sheds and Arenas with Poison, Warrant, Quiet Riot. We'd like to have Enuff Z'Nuff as the opening act. And we were like, we're back in the game again. Couldn't believe it. Then got the opportunity to get back on tour, and we just screwed it all up once again, confusing motion with progress. And drug dealers showing up at the gig, doctors from different towns coming in with every kind of drug you could think of, and we just wrecked it again. It was what did Herbie Herbert, I can quote the great Herbie Herbert, was 10 steps forward for Enuff Z'Nuff and 30 steps back. And that's what the book focuses on. It's both sides of it. It's the trajectory of what a band goes through, and it's the whole peaks and valley thing. But some of the stories in there are just absolutely incendiary, and they're heartbreaking at the same time.
Sure.
Within the organization, some of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes with the bands, with certain members, and how we tried to work that and make it work with, even though it was most bands would have broke up at the time. The music was that strong. We said to ourselves, we just can't give up. And it works. And the book is all the way through until I took over as lead vocalist of Enuff Z'Nuff, which is not a gig that I wanted, but I pretty much was thrown into the fire and I had no choice. You push me in the ocean, either I swim or I drown, and I'm swimming my ass off right now. And that's what the book is about. But the records that we're putting out right now, Todd, I think are just as significant and as important right now to our history and our catalog.
I do not disagree. I think it's great. I think you're doing great work. And I think that's part of the charm of all of this, is the fact that, it's one thing to just be treading water, but I think actually it's like when you mentioned Phil Collins, it's like if Syd Barrett hadn't sat out, would Roger Waters have ever stepped forward? Would Dave Gilmour have ever been able to kind of have, I think that, for you to be able to go out there, wave that flag and just like you say, the legacy is the important part. It's the same thing I said to Slash when the Guns thing presented itself. I was sort of like, well, you have to go back and claim your legacy. You have to go back and put your stamp on things. And I think it's great that you're out there doing it. And like I said, the whole time, one of my favorite things is looking at the Phil Lynott, kind of like the bass player in the middle and the two guitar players on the side. I mean, you've always been a very underrated bass player. And I think that no one really stops and goes, Chip's a great bass player. I've always loved your lines. And the fact that you're singing and playing it now is even more impressive, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. Listen, those early days of playing Enuff Z'Nuff have really groomed me. There's no doubt about that. It's always been difficult. I've always loved bass players that sing like Paul McCartney and Geddy
Yeah.
Lee.
Yeah.
And those are
Sting.
fabulous. Yeah, Sting.
Yeah.
They're fabulous guys. And
Yeah.
it's not easy to do both.
No.
It takes years of doing it to really get to where you're comfortable. I'm just happy to just be able to be out there singing the songs and playing every single night. And I like playing guitar too, Todd. I'm like you are. I'm a six-trick pony. I play drums, play guitar, sing. I try to do as much as I can. I might not be a novelist there, but I do the best I can to get through it and give a good performance. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. Got great performance and leaving that indelible mark. And I think right now I'm pretty proud of where we stand, but I'm certainly not satisfied, bro. There's still more gas in this tank right now. And with the new records that are coming out, we have a brand new record. I don't know if you know about it. It's called Hard Rock Night.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And it's on Frontiers. It comes out in November, and it's all Beatles songs, which is certainly a challenge right there.
That Cold Turkey version is bitching.
Isn't that just ridiculous? Yeah, Tori Scott Reagan playing guitar. I got Tony Fennell and the other guitar singing with me. He's fabulous. He used to be with the wonderful band in the early days. Daniel Benjamin Hill playing drums on it as well. So you got Ultravox, New Black Seven, Super Big, all these guys from different bands and organizations that have all congregated, got back into the Enuff Z'Nuff bandwagon and made a record that I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they hear, because no one's ever heard the Beatles played where it's almost like heavy metal. I mean, Motley Crue obviously covered Helter Skelter.
Yeah.
And Aerosmith did Come Together, but not like this record right here with 4 guys in the studio live, not many overdubs, just bashing out those songs. It's almost like Stone Temple Pilots meets Cheap Trick in an alley, and Slash comes in and breaks up the fight. It's that heavy of a record, and the challenge will be going out and playing these songs live. We've done a couple of shows. We didn't call it Enuff Z'Nuff. We call it the Beatles Rock Show.
I love it
because it's much more lucrative that way, because people are coming out and seeing a Beatles show, and we did the whole record in its entirety, and people were crying out in the crowd. They loved it.
I love it.
When you hear stuff like Eleanor Rigby and Back in the USSR and Cold Turkey and Dear Prudence, those songs they leave an indelible mark.
They do.
That's timeless material with a band that they'll never be another Beatle band ever again. The closest thing to it will be us doing this beautiful record, paying tribute to our forebears.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. So what does 2022 look like for you? I mean, I know you've been touring, because for the longest time it seemed like, oh, we're going to wait and see how things go. And then all of a sudden, boom, everybody was on the road. And I was like, I am not mentally prepared for this at all, but here we are. Yeah.
Well, we didn't think we were going to be out on this Faster Pussycat run we just did, which is 2 months. We were told that this is the 3rd time the shows were being rebooked. Our agency, Artists Worldwide, said, well, we're going to push it back until 2021. And then when 2021 came, they said, it looks like it's going to get pushed back to 2022. And then for some reason, we found an open window with all these promoters that were jonesing, because everybody was losing chippy poos. We were all in a position where if we didn't get out there and play, the clubs would close, the sound men and the crews, and everybody would be out of work, and we're all hemorrhaging money. So we got the tour, and we said, okay, we'll take a chance on it and see if it works. And there was no restrictions at all. There was no mandates. Everybody showed up at the gigs, and it was really pretty. It was one of the better tours I've done in the last 20 years. I got to be honest with you. And I thought, well, you know what, this is great. We were able to go out with Faster Pussycat and Enuff Z'Nuff for 2 months with no problems whatsoever, except my drummer breaking his leg in Atlanta because the stage was not taped off and properly lit.
Oh, no. That's brutal.
So he broke his foot. But we were able to play the last 18 shows and just get through it because there's a left foot. And the doctor said, don't put any pressure on it, or you could be crippled for life. We got through those shows. We said, this is tough. And then we went right back in the studio and we finished up my solo record. I have a solo record that's coming out now called Perfectly Imperfect. And it's got Dax Nielsen from Cheap Trick on there. Adler's on one song. Got Steven Adler playing on a Mott the Hoople song. all the way from Memphis, I think it is, or I mean, Howlucci
Amazing.
Boogie. And then I also have Joel Holstra from Whitesnake playing guitar in a couple of
The
tracks.
best.
He's done 3 or 4. And yeah, just a championship guitar player. I've known him for years.
Yeah.
So, and that record comes out, I think, at the end of the year as well as the Beatle record. So we're in pretty good shape. But next year, Todd, is the great thing for Enuff Z'Nuff. We have a massive tour that's happening for us. When I say massive, I think when I was hanging out with my guys in Live Nation, we were out with Ace Frehley a few years ago. My buddy Andy there says, you know, the wave of the future, Chip, is going to be consolidation. It's got to be 2, 3 bands at least to go out on tour together, and that'll help make things happen. You'll be able to move around the country, and
Sure.
more people will want to see the shows, and it'll lift everybody's perception. So I just got this tour. I'm not even supposed to talk about, but I'm on Todd Kerns' show. I got to mention something because I'm
An
proud of
exclusive.
it.
It's an
Yeah,
exclusive.
I'm proud of it. So next year, I don't know what they're going to call the tour. I think it's probably going to be called something that has to do with 80s in there, but it's One in Rome, Bow Wow Wow, Enuff Z'Nuff, Missing Persons. And it's
Wow.
six weeks on the road. So it's alternative, it's pop, it's rock, all mixed together. Not many bands do that.
Yeah.
I was trying to, I was trying to get on the tour. There's a great one with my buddy Tom Kiefer that's happening next year. It's Tom Kiefer, LA Guns, and Faster Pussycat.
Great.
And then the agency down there said, Chip, you just tour with Faster Pussycat. It's 50% of the package if we had you on there. I don't really agree with that, okay, because I think the fans want to see it. Those shows were jam-packed, sold out. That shows me that it's a winning package.
Totally.
But then when I got presented with Missing Persons, Enuff Z'Nuff, One in Rome tour, that to me is a slam dunk home run mixing. That's a real potpourri because Todd, go back to the old days. You see bands out there. It'd be Cheap Trick, Kiss, and Mahogany Rush. They didn't work. You didn't think together.
Yeah.
But
Totally.
guess what? People loved it beyond belief. I seen Angel, Piper, and Joan Jett playing together on a major tour. You think, man, those bands are quite different than each other. That's a special thing about music nowadays. Doesn't have to all be the same kind of bands. I think people want to see something that's special and get a bang for their buck. So
Totally.
if you can get all new wave along with pop or rock, punk, whatever it is, all together, that's pretty special.
I think so. I think you're right. It turns into your mixtape from high school.
That's exactly. Wow, but it's a great analogy right there.
It should be
I'm
the
looking
mixtape tour or something.
Yeah, so I think we'll get on that tour, and then I'm told that Ace is going to go out next year, and he wants Enuff Z'Nuff to open for him. So
Oh, that'd be great.
I'm planning on staying busy with a bunch of new records. The Frontiers released Hard Rock Night, all the Beatles songs. My solo record, Perfectly Imperfect. The next Enuff Z'Nuff album, and then that's a touch of what I've done because I've produced a bunch of bands. I just produced Joey Ramone's nephew, Steve Ramone's new record. It comes out on.
Ooh, that's exciting.
It comes out on a label over here in Chicago, and then also I produced Midnight Devils record. And that's going to be out as well.
Right.
So those are just 2 bands. I've done so much stuff, Todd. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but a lot of music that's coming out there, and I want to share it with everybody. And I think that people will be pleasantly surprised next year. All the releases that are out there where my stamp will be on every one of them.
I appreciate that. I mean, I keep thinking isn't there any time to stay home and pet the dog and put your feet up and
no doggies, a couple of kitty cats, and then well, 3 kitty cats counting my wife. So no, I'm staying pretty busy over here, and that's the best way to move forward. I agree. All my friends that are retired immediately have problems with their health. They can't go out and do stuff. They get weak. That's when the things start setting in. I really believe, folks, that as long as you stay busy, you'll have a pretty good trajectory moving forward.
It's inspiring, brother. Because that's how I roll too. But I always assume there will come a day where I'll just be like, stop answering every phone call, answer every second phone call, every third phone call, and then eventually you just kind of phase yourself out. But now that now I'm all charged up from talking to Chip Z'Nuff.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Listen, I love what you do in Slash's band. I think you're fabulous in Adler's Appetite. How do you like playing with Steve? It's pretty cool, right?
It's fun, man. It's like I say, it was just a fill-in sort of thing that's grown into a little more, but it sort of ends this weekend's my last weekend with him. But it's been really, the special thing about it is, having been played with the guitar player and now playing with the drummer every once in a while, you go, there it is, because I've played Guns N' Roses songs in every capacity, but playing it with Steven, you go, oh, there it is. That feels exactly like the record,
I'll tell you, when I lived with him over in where he lives in Los Angeles, I lived there for about 5 or 6 years on and off. and we had wonderful times together. We would tour. Some of my greatest moments were touring over in South America with him.
Yeah,
It's hard to believe how huge Guns N' Roses is over there.
they are.
Where they attacked the band. Every show completely sold out. Peru, Argentina, Brazil, and just all the different little
Venezuela. Yeah,
thank you. All of those. Thank you for helping me. All the small little towns that are out there that embrace that band.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate him bringing me out there for those shows. But nothing like playing those Guns N' Roses songs every single night. Those guys were 20, 25 years old, those jag-offs, when they were writing those songs. Okay?
I know, yeah.
And then here we are, double their age, going out there and playing them in front of a show, in front of a big audience. It's a challenge out there playing those Guns N' Roses songs. It's not that it's super hard. It's not like it's playing Frank Zappa or Captain Beyond or something.
Yeah, right.
But they're still tough. They're still tough, and you got to have some energy to put into those songs to make them work in front of those crowds, because the people know right away. So I've had great times. But when we did this stuff in North America, it wasn't as fun. And I love playing with them, but it wasn't as exciting as it was when you take it over to Europe. And
it really
too bad that you guys aren't going over to South America or Europe, because Steven has a lot of fun over there, and he will only tour in a tour bus there, by the way, too. He will not go in a van. He's not interested in that. It's all tour bus out there, because he's living his life back in 1989 again, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And I get it. I understand it. We did the whole tour in Europe for 1 month. We did, I think, 32 shows over a little over a month. And the bus bill came in, it was $63,000 for I think it was 32 days in the bus, and no money for Steven and I. The two guys in the band who had significant careers. And I remember saying to him, I go, well, what are we going to do? He goes, I'm sorry, Chippy, there's no money. And I go, I can't. And then at the end, we got back home, and I was living in his house for free. So that was pretty much my pay. But he's very generous. Okay. And he's very kind. And he did take good care of me. He gave me a bunch of clothes and stuff. And then when he came to Blue Island, where I'm at right now, I got him to play in a bunch of stuff. He would come in. I go, hey, bro, will you check the drums for me? And he go, yeah, what do you want me to do? I go, play this beat. And he'd play the beat, and I'd have my engineer in the other room recording everything. So I got a plethora, a lifetime of recordings of Steven Adler. And I just write songs around him. That's it. It's pretty Sesame Street.
I love it. That's amazing. Well, I won't keep you any longer. You've got a wife, you've got cats, you got things to do. Apparently you have like 10 more records to go make today.
Yeah, well, I already did my radio show, which is good. Now I'm getting ready to go downtown to Chicago to a place called Stone Cutters Recording, and it's a guy named Chris Steinman who did Kiss Revenge. Okay. Alice Cooper, he did all the Ozzy Osbourne later on records. He's a wonderful engineer producer, and I'm playing bass on some stuff down there. So awesome. I get called for these sessions, and listen, Todd, I'll do 7 to 10 songs today on bass. Honest to God, that many songs.
Great. That's
it's not like the old days where you get called, hey, can you play bass or play guitar on one song? Yeah, no problem. And you get paid a Brinks truck for it. And that's not anymore. They know you're better off consolidating. Yeah, get the artist to come down, play as much as you can, and then take it from there. So I'm staying busy. I'm glad that you're doing good out there. I wish you nothing but well. I love Slash beyond belief and Miles. You know, those guys are my brothers.
Absolutely.
I'll see everybody in 2022, I'm sure, out there on tour.
Yes, I hope so.
I hope that one day we get a chance to cross paths on the road, maybe do a show or two together.
That'd be lovely.
Terrific.
Yeah, I'm excited. I haven't seen the band with you fronting, so I'm very excited to see the new lineup that's been around for several years now. But
yeah, Tori Stoff Reagan, Daniel Benjamin Hill, and Tony Fennell, the last singer in Ultravox. He took Mid-Year's place in Ultravox.
So cool.
Fabulous guys. They sing and play their asses off, and I'm grateful to say that they believe in the legacy of Enuff Z'Nuff, and they're there every single night. Never mailing it in, Todd. Enuff Z'Nuff shows up, and it's no tapes, no sequences, no guys backstage, just 4 guys kicking ass every night. I think the fans. Last thing, Todd, a shout out to our military, our police, our doctors, all our nurses out there, the local drug dealers. We appreciate them all out there. I wish you well moving forward, my friend. Thank you so much. Check me out on the Monsters of Rock on the Dash Radio Network. I'm on 6 days a week.
Love you, brother. Love you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Todd. Peace, bro.